Hello, today was my first day volunteering with you and I at Amrutha Shishu Nivasa as a tutor. I would like to specify that this is a very new experience for me. I have worked with NGO kids, orphanage kids. I have worked with kids who are disabled, mainly. That's most of the kids I've worked with. Dealing with kids as a tutor, especially, and speaking to them is a very different experience, and I didn't really think of it until I got there. And usually when you greet the handicapped kids, you try to not make a verbal communication. You wave at them because I know. So the thing is, when you deal with disabled kids or handicapped kids, you would prefer not to make a verbal communication because uh, most of them cannot speak either due to PTSD or actually they're mute. So it's preferable if you don't make a verbal communication. And when I got over here, I did not make a verbal communication, and the head of the training center told me, "You can talk to them," and I was like, "Right, right, yes, I can." Uh, that was one thing. Today was actually not supposed to be my first day. Today was just supposed to be a meeting with the head of the training center, and for me to understand how the how UNI works and how the proceedings work, and just see the children, meet other volunteers. That was the intention of today's meeting. But she saw that I was already comfortable with the children, and the children were really excited to play with me. So she just assigned me to three children, and Sundays they do math. So I started with math. I was given really young kids who were, I think, around in first grade. So I asked them, I wanted to first explore their, prior knowledge and understand what they know. So I just asked them to like write 1 to 10, and they were able to write 1 to 10, and that was great. Another thing I would like to mention is that the language barrier, because the kids are not really that comfortable with English at all, and my Kannada isn't particularly amazing. So communicating with the children is easy because they use very simple language, and I would say that my caliber in Kannada is also that of a child. But again, certain words will be hard for them to pick up, and certain words were difficult for me to pick up from their language. But with pictures, it's easier to explain, and with the things around us, it's easier to explain. So I would say that language to some extent is a barrier, but I have other ways to overcome that barrier visually, with actions, with emotions. So that's all right. So I started off with exploring how much prior knowledge they have. They knew numbers really well, and they were able to count how many fingers on my hand, and I told them to add the fingers together, and they could. But when I wrote it down on paper, they couldn't. So I realized that when it's subject oriented, it's either that they don't want to do it, or they just or that it's intimidating for them. So I tried to make it subject related but fun oriented. I asked them, what do you like? They said, we like flowers. So I started drawing the flowers, and that's how we did addition. And then I also so there was this tree with like small fruits that fall down. I don't really know what fruit it was, but a lot of fruits, just like tiny small fruits that fall down from it. And so I told them to get a few of them, and I taught them how to do addition with those. But then the children lost interest. I mean, they have a very small attention span, so it's difficult to like keep them engaged. Also, I was assigned three girls, but one of my girls was just sleeping. She was not ready to get up. She just so we went down. So I moved the children from the head of the training center, and we went and we sat down like at a distance. And the two girls were very excited. I told them, go get your books, let's start doing math. You guys like math? They were like, yeah, yeah, we like math. But then this girl was just not ready. She was like, oh, no, I don't want to go. And then she put her head down on the floor and she slept there. And she was not moving. She was not ready to move. And she just slept. So the first 30 to 35 minutes while I was doing the lesson with the girls, uh, she was sleeping. And one more thing about the lesson was that I was really nervous because I had no lesson plan. And I I would say that in the process of teaching something to them, I do not want to give off the wrong information or the wrong idea, That's why a lesson plan is, I believe, is very, very, very important when it comes to teaching children. So that was about it, about the lesson. And once they lost their attention span, they were not interested to do math anymore, but I still had to keep them engaged with me. So I decided to ask them, okay, what do you enjoy doing? And they said, we like drawing a lot. So they got to drawing and they filled up a page or two and they were drawing. And then this third girl wakes up. She finally wakes up, and weirdly, after waking up, she's very, very, very comfortable with me. She comes to me and she puts her head on my lap. Also, another thing was that when I greeted these children, right, you cannot hug the children over there. As volunteers, it's not ethical to hug them because it sort of creates this emotional bond, which is likely to break if you do not come back if you do not come back consistently in a week. It is likely that the children, will have a bond, and that bond can break. And hugging them should not become a practice. It is something the caretakers of the NGO can do, but as volunteers who come every now and then, it's not really ethical. So when the girls kept hugging me, it was crushing for me to not be able to hug them back. And because I'm an aunt, I think I had this personal bias where, it's like a reflex. Any kid comes and hugs my waist, it's a reflex for me to like hug them back. So it was very, very, very weird to, not hug back a child this time. And I didn't want to take any pictures of the kids or of the training center, because I didn't really know the policy, the photography policy with the NGO. So I refrained from taking any pictures. After the session is over, right? The team of the volunteers sits down and we discuss about the session. We discuss about our glows and our grows. So glows is basically things about the session that went really well, things about you feel confident about, and things about the children that you see as an improvement, that you see as a skill or something good about the children. And then the growing part is, yeah, improvements that you need to make either in the lesson, either in yourself or the children. And yeah, we got down to discussing that. The glows about my children that I was assigned to would be, they were very engaging and they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to, it didn't matter what we were doing, but they wanted to engage in conversation with me, and they wanted to maintain that conversation with me. So that was one great thing. So it just showed how comfortable they were with me and how interested they were. So now that I know that they're interested, I can take ahead. If I do have a lesson plan in the next class, I can take ahead and design a good lesson plan that I can do with them with activities. And so that was glowing for me. I couldn't really decide about myself because I didn't really feel confident throughout the class today because I wasn't prepared, and even though I winged it, I didn't really have their attention for a long time. So I would say that I was not really that confident with myself, and I think I would improve the next time once we decide on what we want to teach the children. The next thing was the growing points. First, one of my children was very violent. She kept hitting the other girl, and I had to separate them physically at one point because it got escalated. She kept throwing her pencil, and she was really moody. There was a point where the child was so disoriented. She just got up and she started wailing. She started crying. And honestly, as a volunteer, you cannot go ahead then saying, it's okay, come here, let's sit, let's study. Why don't you take a breather? Come, let's go take a walk. That's the max you can do. And these are children who are 5 to 6 years old. So it's really difficult to, with such little emotional maturity in a child and such little emotional maturity in me, it's really difficult to get to them and to get them to speak up. So that was one challenge that I faced. And it was concerning that the child was randomly crying, and yeah. But they said that from prior experience, who the head of the training center told me that she's just like that, and that's how she is. And it's actually, they found it surprising that she even cried to me, because when it's other volunteers, she hits them. But today she was crying to me. She was putting her head down in my lap and she was crying. So they said that it was surprising that she wasn't violent. So that's one good thing. The other thing about the other girl, I would say there wasn't really anything concerning. She was actually very helpful. She was very kind and she had patience. But I would say hygiene habits, that was concerning. But then again, as volunteers with you and I, it's not our responsibility per se. And if you go past doing that, then it would be difficult for you as a volunteer. So they said, do not overthink it. It's okay. The NGO will look after that. You don't have to worry about that. But since I said it, they will put a notice to the NGO. The other third girl who was sleeping, she is like that. She doesn't really talk, and they found it really really surprising that she got so emotionally attached to me. Like, she drew, when she woke up, she drew all over my hand. I put up a picture of that. I actually washed it off, so it's not there anymore. And she got really really attached to me. Like, after, towards the end of the session, when we had to leave the place where we were making them study, that was near the playground, and go to the meeting room, she was following me and she was not ready to leave me, and she kept hugging me, she kept hugging my hands, and she like, don't go, don't go, don't go. And it was really difficult, and honestly it put me in a moral dilemma. Like, to some extent I wanted to console the child and tell her, don't worry, I'm here, but to another extent I know that it's not true. So I had to really set boundaries with children, which is something very difficult for me to do personally, because I'm an aunt. I live with two small children, and whatever they say is how I act. And I found it very impossible, very close to impossible to setting these boundaries when it comes to outside of discipline. With discipline, you need to set boundaries, but when it comes to outside of discipline, because you cannot allow those children to become so emotionally attached to you, it was really difficult setting those boundaries. So I would want to work on that. And yeah, that's about it. Another point where I really had to make a choice was when, so the drawings that she drew on my hand, right, she told me, you cannot wash it off, you cannot show it to anyone else, you need to come back next Sunday with this, you need to come back tomorrow actually. And I said, sorry, I cannot come, and I have to wash this off because I will take a shower, and when I take a shower I'll go. And I had to really explain to the child, I had to sit her down and explain to her that, okay, that's not the case, and I cannot, and I couldn't lie to her then. So that choice of whether I lie to her, console her and let her be, or I explain the truth to her and make sure it does not break her down, was honestly difficult. Yeah. But other than that, I feel the first session was a great meeting for me, and I'm really excited to go back next weekend. And I hope I get to know a little bit more about what I have to teach the children so that I can make a lesson plan and go prepared. Yeah, that's about it. Good day. Thank you.